I'm Yasmin Neal, and I'm a screenwriter, director, producer. Actually, I started with journalism. I was in undergrad. I wrote for my school newspaper, Valdosta State. Then I wrote for Clayton State. Then I wrote for 2 circulating newspapers later. And then when I got my internship at Georgia Public Broadcasting, we got the chance to write scripts for live TV. And so morphing through news, a news cycle, shifted me into fully stepping into the screenwriting direction. But unfortunately, at the time, when I was stepping into it, they didn't have screenwriting such at Valdosta State, so I had to take journalism instead. They didn't have it when I transferred to Clayton State. They didn't have filmmaking as we know it, so I had to jump into like communications, media studies. And so it took me, I had to do a lot on my own as far as being self-taught before I could officially, there weren't screenwriting classes in Atlanta. Those things didn't exist back then. And so it was me taking the initiative myself to do the screenwriting, and then getting to a point now, like I have within the past years, of shooting it myself. So my journey was pretty much, I started with being self-taught, so just printing off some of my favorite scripts, such as The Godfather and The Die Hards and Pretty Woman and Memoirs of a Geisha, when that eventually came out. And then, just reading and seeing what some of the greats did, and then through learning that, eventually I took one screenwriting course when I was an undergrad, but that quickly shifted to me helping the professor grade the papers because I knew how to do the work. So I ended up being like a reader for the class, and, returning notes and things like that. And then from there, I just did a lot of reading, YouTubing once that came about. And I did go to AZ Image class, and that kind of went through some of the fundamentals. Like I said, I knew a lot already, but I was trying to just see what else was out there. Because like I said, I'd never been to any formal classes before that. And I definitely felt that since Atlanta was stepping into it within their own right, I wanted to kind of see what was out there. And so outside of that course, that was like a couple months long, and then the course at school, outside of that, I had no formal training. Everything else was book work, YouTube, reading tons of scripts that had already been produced. The biggest thing I did see is that everybody wrote differently. Everybody did their version of the rules. And I thought that was interesting because the book tells you one way. But when each person that has produced a great film did it their way, it was a blockbuster hit. So what I did find is that, once you do learn the rules, learn the basics, you kind of know that you can break them. But at the same time, you got to be careful about that because unfortunately, when it comes to some demographic of people, we want to be careful to not conform to a set of rules that are set by everyone else. But then when other people that set those rules break the rules, they become great and they were so insightful and groundbreaking while we're all still sitting here following the same rules. So you got to be very careful about what rules you break and when you break them and who they actually apply to. So I would encourage people to definitely learn the rules first, then you know how to navigate through them, and you know what, you can probably create something new. I finished up a number of pieces by the end of last year, a comedy entitled Raw. It's a pilot. And I have a horror sizzle that I shot. I have another horror that I shot last year as well. And then I have kind of like an action drama called Dear Hard Work. It's about a female that makes it to the NFL. Kind of like Love Jones meets Love and Basketball-ish. And actually, so all those pieces are actually circulating through the film festivals right now. Some of them have done very well, especially like Enoch, which is the horror film I did short. It's doing really well in the film festival circuit. Now I am cleaning up and finalizing a novel that I'm writing. And I actually have the script already finished for that. It's called Safe Word. It's kind of like the Black 50 Shades of Grey-ish. And then I have another one. I have 2 political dramas that I'm finishing up. And then I have some magical realism type thriller / horror pieces that I'm working on. And so once I kind of decide what I want to do as far as shooting, what to shoot first, I'm going to try to probably go into pre-production probably within like around May for those pieces. As of now, I have like 40 plus projects, like scripts from features or pilots, what have you, because I'm always in a constant state of writing. And before, like 3 or 4 years ago, most of those have been sitting on the computer. And I felt like if I only submitted to the screenwriting competitions and other places that don't put the image on the screen, I felt like it was still going to be sitting and sitting and sitting. And I felt like it was very important for me to start shooting. Along with that, when I've been trying to talk to investors and other networks and things like that, they're shifting to a space where they want to actually see something. Yes, you can submit scripts all day, but they really encourage seeing something, a sizzle, a trailer or something to kind of get a feel for your story. Because what I'm finding is sometimes if they can't feel it on the paper, if you can show them the vision, it's helpful, because some things don't translate well from paper, and that's just reality of it. Because I've had too many instances where I was going to shoot something and that scene didn't work and that kind of thing. So you really get to navigate and clean out some of those areas when you actually put it on screen to see if it actually works. And so I felt that was more important than submitting to a ton of different screenwriting festivals. But that's just my preference. I have lately I have put something here or there, but that's not my main thing. I only did it I like to keep a lot of different irons in the fire, but that is not my primary goal. I do not submit to a lot of screenwriting festivals. I believe in putting the money and the time and energy into trying to put something out, shoot something, just shoot it. So there are a few inspirations. So like for instance, I have one piece, Kane. Some people are familiar with it, and it's kind of like the movie Seven. It's a horror, and for instance, one of my driving forces behind that script, period, was the fact that Denzel Washington did the interview, and they asked him, "What's the one film that you regret turning down?" And he said, Seven. He said, out of my whole career, if I could do it over again, I would do that movie. And so I'm like, I gotta finish this because Denzel wants it. So when it comes to being inspired, knowing that there's a conversation being had along the lines of what you don't see minority actors in. So I tend to write pretty much everything. I do sci-fi, I do horror, I do drama, I do you name it. And so I feel like it's my job to craft stories that you don't see us in, to give a different perspective on the minority experience, the African-American experience. And so I feel that, to me, I am 100% convinced that there's something on my computer that can change my life and the lives of a lot of filmmakers in Atlanta, as far as employment, as far as writers' rooms, as far as, bringing a big production here. I am completely 100% convinced that there's something on that computer that can help a lot of people. And being that as a filmmaker and the films that I've shot over the course of time, the past couple of years, and the actors and other people in the cast and crew that come to me and are always checking in, or what you working on, or we know it's going to be good, or praying for you and that kind of thing. When you keep seeing that family feel, and you keep feeling like people are really looking forward to your work flourishing, that's the driving force. And since I know and feel there's something on my computer that can help somebody change the lives of a lot of people very quickly, that's what keeps me in front of that computer every day. For me, as a Black female writer, I feel that it is important to hear our voice. When I say our voice, what our voice can sound like. I feel like for so long, our voice sounds like the stereotypical stories we see. And no one has experienced our voice when it comes to a horror script. No one has experienced our voice when it comes to a sci-fi film or the next Avatar. No one has experienced our voice in different areas where we can turn into and morph into a character that is not something that we see every day on the street. And so I feel it's very important for the world to experience what we sound like as an African-American screenwriter, period, but as a screenwriter that's trying to represent African-Americans completely differently for the masses. And I think it's important for us to see what we look like in that imagery.